7.3 titled moles of compounds. I mentioned this last week, but we'll go through it again. Let's see the compound CH4. And what this says is that for every one carbon, you have 4 H's. So if you were to have 1 mole of CH4, then you would have 4 moles of H. And again, it's just the same thing. If you had 1 dozen of CH4, we know that you would have 1 dozen carbons and you'd have 4 dozen H's. So it's just the same exact idea. For every 1 CH4 compound, you have 1 C and 4 H's. So let's say you have 1.25 moles of CH4. And the question is, how many moles of C do you have? So that's just 1.25. For every 1 mole of CH4, you have 1 mole of C. So if you have 1.25 moles of CH4, you must have 1.25 moles of C. And then for moles of H, well, we know that for every 1 mole of CH4, we have 4 moles of H. So our conversion would be 1.25 moles of CH4 times 4 moles of H over 1 mole of CH4. CH4 will cancel out. We're left with moles of H. So we would do 4 times 1.25. And that'll give us 5. Now with sig figs, this is an exact relationship. There are exactly 4 moles of H for every 1 mole of CH4. So we can ignore significant figures for this ratio right here and look only at our measurement, 1.25. So because that has 3 sig figs, our answer will also have 3 sig figs. So even though it's 5 moles exactly, we should report as 5.00 moles of H. That's how we do a conversion between moles of a compound and moles of one of the elements inside the compound. So a compound like this, FeCl3, it's ionic. You have a metal Fe and a non-metal Cl3. So in water, it splits apart. So in water, FeCl3 will become Fe3 plus and 3 Cl minuses. You can think of it like this too, where you'd have 1 Fe3 plus atom split off, and you'd have 3 Cl minuses. And these would each be separate. So some students get confused about this where, if you see Fe3+, that number 3 up there could get confusing. You might think, well, that means there's 3 of them. That only means the charge. So Fe3+, that 3 just means that it's a +3 charge. It doesn't mean you have 3 Fe atoms. In this situation, you only have 1 Fe. You have 3 Cls, but only 1 Fe. Now it's Fe3+, but it's 1 atom. So they might ask you this, if you have 1 mole of FeCl3, they might ask you how many moles of Fe3+ would you have in water? And what we can see in here is that for every 1 mole of FeCl3, we have 1 Fe. So if we have 1 mole of FeCl3, we also would have 1 mole of Fe3+. What about moles of Cl-? So for that one, we have 3 Cls for every 1 mole of FeCl3. So we would have 3 moles of Cl-. Does that make sense to everybody before we go on? Okay, another thing to talk about today is molar mass. We mentioned this last week. If you look up, say carbon, for example, on the periodic table, you have a 6 in the top, you have a 12.01 on the bottom. That bottom number is the molar mass of carbon. So we know that for carbon, there's 12.01 grams for every 1 mole of carbon. But what if you had CH4 and you wanted to know its molar mass? So all we need to do here is add up the molar masses of each atom and put them together. So we know that for carbon, it's 12.01. Now for hydrogen, you look at the periodic table, what you'd see is it's 1.01. So we know hydrogen's molar mass is 1.01. Now there are 4 H's in this compound. So we have to multiply 1.01 times 4. We'd add those together. And so we get 12.01 plus 4.04. So that would be the molar mass of CH4. 16.05 grams per mole is CH4's molar mass. So that's all you do with compounds. You would just look up in the periodic table, find their molar masses from the number at the bottom. If there's, say, 4 in this compound, you multiply the number by 4. If there's 1, you just add it up. And the total amount would be the molar mass of the compound. Any questions about that? Okay, so let me go ahead and assign some homework for you to work on. It's on page 335. I want you to just do 29 through 35 odd. I'll write it on here too. So do 29 through 35 odd on page 335. And just to give you a heads up, we're gonna have a quiz on Thursday. It'll be over homework problems. So if you do every homework problem, you'll be in good shape for the quiz. It'll just be a very similar question to what you've done in the homework the day before. And we'll have a test in this chapter on Tuesday of next week. We're going to skip 11.4, 11.5. So this section 11.3 is the last thing we'll be doing in this chapter. We'll review for the test after we finish 11.3. All right, so there's a question about the quiz. The quiz actually will be on Thursday this week, just to let you know. So it won't be tomorrow. We'll have it on Thursday. It'll be over what you've done the day before. There'll be homework questions, different numbers, but very similar homework questions. And it will not be open book or open notebook. So it's gonna be closed notebook, closed book. You have to do it with periodic table and calculator only, but no notes and no book.